watching In Your Interest. And the big question we're asking here is, work from home or WFH bad for your mental health? Is working from home harmful to mental health? Is working from office actually better for better mental well-being? Well, that's what the findings of a recent study say. The Work Culture and Mental Wellbeing Study, carried out by US-based mind research organization Sapiens Labs, surveyed nearly 55,000 employed individuals across 65 countries this year. Now, this survey had a sizable chunk of over 5,000 respondents from India. The study measured the levels of well-being using a tool called Mental Health Quotient, or MHQ, which measures 47 different aspects of mental health and calculates an overall score for mental well-being that's called Mental Health Quotient. And what were the results? The highest mental health quotient belonged to those who work fully in person in an office, and the lowest belonged to those who work fully remote or working from home. Those who worked on a hybrid basis were somewhere in between. Now, those are the global averages. Specific to India, the study, which looked at 9 different aspects of work culture, says Indians who worked from offices had better mental health than those who worked from home or were in hybrid arrangements. This was unlike those in Europe and the Americas, where hybrid workers had better mental health quotients. The study says that good relations with colleagues and a sense of pride and purpose were the most important factors that impact mental well-being. Poor relationships with colleagues and a lack of pride and purpose in work has been found to be producing severe feelings of sadness and hopelessness and low motivation levels. In India, the correlation between poor relations with colleagues is higher than the global average. The study also finds that there is an increase in mental well-being along with the increase in the size of the teams people are working in. And this is also stronger in India than in the Western countries. So the study essentially says not just going to office, but working with more people at the office while you're there is better for the mental well-being of employees. Unlike the popular assumption that working alone and from home is the best recipe for good mental health. Also, recent findings from the annual Work Trend Index of Microsoft India revealed that 62% of employees feel that work from home demands an excessive time commitment. 32% of employees are exhausted because of the digital nature of the work. And more than 70% of Gen Z workers said that they were struggling mentally. Now, these findings have come at a time when there is a raging debate about work-life balance in India. A debate that was triggered by the recent death of a 26-year-old chartered accountant in Pune. Whether work from home or not, good relationships, good human relationships seem to be the key to better mental well-being. Dr. Srinath Sridharan, policy researcher and corporate advisor, is with us. Srinath, interesting, wouldn't you say? I mean, we all thought that the pandemic awakened us to the need for a better work-life balance, and that can only be achieved by not going to the office. But that doesn't seem to be the case exactly.
Krishna, I mean, while the report has been very exhaustive, including the number of parameters that they've tracked, I think it is also counterintuitive to say that some of the comparisons between the Western world and the Indian world are slightly different, and I want to bring about those. One, our average age of the cohort that we are speaking about in India is far younger than the Western demographics. That's one. Two, the average infrastructure for work from home or work from anywhere in India is very different from the quality of infrastructure. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're sitting at home in let's say in the US or somewhere in Europe, it's quiet. Imagine an Indian home being very, very quiet during the day, assuming that there is no noise pollution from the outside road. The internal one, the amount of bells and phones, that's a different context. Third, I think human beings are, I think, very, very clear social creatures. So one of the expectation is our human cognition and social engineering that we want to do demands more people. Let's say during COVID, it all worked fine because we were able to do that. We couldn't go out, and work became almost a social aspect of it in a lot of cases. And while we are continuing now, we kind of zoned out and said we'll continue working from home. And the sheer digital overload is because of our own probably lack of self-discipline. When do you switch off? And I think here, I think both of us, both the stakeholders, the employees and the employers, are at fault. I mean, I just want to provoke you, Krishna, for a minute. I mean, look at your own industry, media industry. I mean, you pride yourself by saying 24/7. And if I ask your print or digital colleagues as well, there is nothing called a stop. There is nothing called saying that, hey, you know what, my shift gets done at 6 o'clock.
Well, Srinath, we are an outlier of an industry. You know, we don't have the luxury of work from home like IT professionals. We have no option but to come to office. Even during the pandemic, we had to come to the office because the studios are over here. So we're not comparable.
Right? I mean, no, that's true. But the fact is, the studio today can also have become like Zoom, right? I'm joining a studio from a Zoom call, sitting at home. So the reality is, I think today the digital, I have some goodness, but we don't know, we are not disciplined enough to say when do we cut off. So I kind of still think in a report like this, yes, it is satisfying to say that we need to place emphasis on mental wellness. But the reality is to taking it overboard, because I can hear another argument coming from you in the next, let's say, a month or two, with a group of HR practitioners saying this is why we want people to come back to office, as if that is going to change productivity. I think productivity measures are still evolving, Krishna. The reality is, I think the corporate world, at least the formal workplace methods, are still finding that difficult, because you have the command and hierarchy structure in India. I mean, anywhere in HR world. How do we get youngsters to listen to you with influence?
Well, that's a big question. Quick comment from you, Lloyd. Talk to us. You work with enough and more companies. WFH or WFO?
I think the answer, like in everything, lies somewhere in between.
Okay.
I do strongly agree with the findings of the report. I do agree that people just kind of cutting themselves from the outside world, working in the private confines of their home in a work office. Not only do they work more, I think they also tend to get a little bit more stressed. As Srinath rightly pointed out, humans are social animals. We need to meet real people. We need to shake hands. We need to have our time off at the coffee machine. We need to do those things. I think that's an important part of growth. Through the pandemic, when, of course, everything kind of went to lockdown mode, I do believe that people who had a long history in an organization were able to transact work from home much better, because you have a history, you know people, you know their likes and dislikes, so you're able to work that through. Whereas youngsters who just started off in 2020, they had that handicap, right? You're dealing with nothing but a small image on a Zoom screen window with people, and you don't know the background. So I do believe that the real solution is hybrid.
Okay.
Having said which, I think I want to touch upon 2 points. I think one is we've yet to evolve a proper work from home discipline. By that I mean is that if someone is going to spend 8 hours at home, we need to provide for these little breaks when people step out, grab a coffee, maybe interact with some family member, maybe take a walk around. I think that's one. 2 is, even in the context of office, which sometimes gets very stressful, how do you provide for that flexibility, right? So if I'm doing an 8-hour work in a big office, can I get that half an hour that I step out, possibly catch up with friends? I think we need to provide for that balance. Just strictly saying that the survey is going to be kind of pushing people back to the office, I think maybe a little too skewed. So I agree with Srinath. But I do think working from home is taking a toll on people's mental health. Completely agree. And specifically for younger office workers, I think it's a significant thing.
One thing that we can all agree to is that human beings are social animals. That's what the study has revealed all over again. But the solutions are yet to be found. For now, Lloyd and Srinath, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on this edition of Indian Interest. Completely out of time over here. Thank you so much for watching. This is Krishna Kumar signing off.